طبعا لا صحة للإشاعة أنه في غدا هسه، بس تأكد أنه عدد النواب اللي بيحملوا مسدسات شخصية 32 نائب بحسب الأخبار الصحفية. Gentlemen, ladies, I'd like to invite our esteemed panelists to the panel. Dr. Imad Hubballah from TRA Lebanon, our esteemed guest from Lebanon. Mr. Jean-Francois Thomas, CEO of Orange Jordan. Mr. Ahmed Hanan, the CEO of Zain Jordan. And last but not least, Mr. Ihab Hinnawi, CEO of Umniya in Jordan. Of course, Ihab is planning to mount Mount Everest soon in his support for donating to the new cancer hospital of the King Hussein Cancer Hospital. And Arab Advisors has just donated, and I encourage everybody to donate as well to this magnificent new hospital in Jordan that's a leading hospital across the region, actually. I'm going to join the panelists on the chairs now, and I promise you we're keeping you from lunch, so it's not going to be too long, and it's going to be a very interesting, hopefully, telecommunications focused panel. Thank you. So we'll take introductory remarks from the gentlemen on what they see are the most pressing issues in regards to the regional telecommunications and mobile markets and broadband markets in the region. And I'll give the floor first to our guest from Lebanon to comment on what he sees the most pressing issues in Lebanon, his home country, in Jordan, and the region at large. Thank you and welcome to the Dead Sea.
Thank you. Good afternoon, everyone. It's good to be here. For those of you who do not know what Lebanon does, it's like we get out of one turmoil and get into another. But it looks like we're doing a lot better compared to some of our neighbors recently, and we hope that the situation ends as quickly as possible and the suffering stops everywhere. Before the meeting, before this panel, I was asked by Jawad a question. He said, I'm going to ask you a question about why aren't you getting the third operator out or the third license out? Well, I'm not sure what it means to say we have or we do not have a third operator. So we'll get to that in a minute. But I believe as far as Lebanon is concerned, we suffer like many of the Arab countries, if not all of the Arab countries, at least the lack of an ICT vision. I do not believe that any of the Arab countries today have a clear ICT vision that is the center of the economic growth or the center of the economic development and the development for the country or for the region that we're in. I think we have too many actions, too many ideas, too many objectives that people have set, associating them with different numbers. I do not necessarily feel that numbers are the only thing that we should be working with. I do not believe that numbers are good indicators all the time. They may give you some indications. So I think vision is number one. Two, even in those countries where we say we have liberalized the environment, liberalized the market, I really don't think we have really liberalized the markets. Three, I think we suffer a lot from the fact that the environment that we're in is still controlling whatever people are allowed to see or not allowed to see, whatever they're allowed to exchange or not allowed to exchange over the networks that we build. We say we have lots of talents, and we do. We may have lots of technical talents. I think our work environment and our business environment in general and in Lebanon is yet to be conducive to actual development and to actual growth of the sector itself, ICT in general, and the economy. And finally, I'm going to say this, and people are not going to like it, a major issue with literacy. 30% of the MENA region, at least, is completely illiterate. Another 30%, they're to a certain level of illiteracy, especially in different languages. And as such, our population and our companies are suffering from the fact that they are not able to produce content, applications that really matter to the population, that they are able to really get the content that the people want and help to grow the whole economy and the whole population that we're in. Thank you.
Thank you very much. Mr. Thomas, would like you to share with us your points?
Yes, thank you. Well, I'm still new in the country, so I will probably say a couple of silly things, so you will forgive me. But the first thing that we can say is that it was part of my surprise when I arrived, that the level of penetration of broadband in the country, if you add up the mobile and the fixed, is quite high. And it is really a source of satisfaction to know that we as operators, carriers, infrastructure providers, we are not on the critical path of the development of the country. And it's a real source of pride that we can accommodate quality, price, the right equation, so that as many people as possible can access to the digital world. And what I heard in this conference goes in this direction so far. At the same time, there are some risks or some weaknesses, and one of them just was mentioned by my neighbor, and I had that on my paper before, is this digital divide. I mean, today we could say that the top class, the middle class, they are accessing this new world. But if you look, there's one part of the population that for some reason, whether it is because of money, resources, but most importantly because of literacy or digital literacy or even interest in some case, they are out of this new digital world that is being constructed, and this is a danger. This is a weakness that we have to be that we have to take care. So maybe the third point I would like to mention is the adoption and usage. I mean, we are building the infrastructures, we are providing services, but information providers and stakeholders, the government, the school system, the health system, has also to invest in order to take the benefit out of it at a country level. And maybe we can comment on that later on. And my fourth point is that the system looks strong, but in fact it's quite fragile, because a lot of things are depending on the ability of the carriers, of the operators, to invest and build the infrastructure. And so far this has been quite good, because the equation was balanced between what we bring to the government in terms of taxes, in terms of license fees, in terms of various flows of money that go back to the government, the level of competition, and the profitability that has allowed us to reinvest massively in the networks, in the infrastructure. And today I have the feeling that this equation is going to be debalanced. And this is clearly a danger. So I see two dangers. The first is the propension of the government of this country to look at us as cash cows, being able to show it, which is a short-term vision. You were talking about vision, short-term vision. Sometimes, you know, I'm telling my friends that I have two jobs. One, I'm a telecom operator, and the other, I'm a money collector for the government. You know, my revenue is 400 million GDs, and the flows of money that go through me, through us, to the government is 155 million GDs, which is huge. Second point is we have a balance. We are three operators, high level of competition. There are talks about the introduction of a fourth operator, and I think this is a bad decision, but I'm sure my colleague will comment on this one.
Mr. Hananda, fourth operator, good for Jordan?
First, I'll try not to repeat anything of what have been said. Good afternoon, everybody. First, I want to talk about the telecom sector in Jordan in brief facts and figures. In the last few years, telecom sector is struggling to grow on revenue. And actually, if we want to be honest and frank, there has been no major growth in revenue in the telecom sector in Jordan. It's a sector that is highly competitive. We are considered the second most competitive market, most probably in the region. We are one of the top three most affordable, I don't want to say the cheapest in rates, but the most affordable in terms of mobile as well as data services. And at the same time, we have penetration rate that is reaching the maximum level. We are highly saturated market in terms of voice, and even on the data, we cannot compare voice to data because the data penetration gives a higher user penetration than the voice. So that is the situation on the market. The electricity, everybody knows that put a big pressure on the telecom operators. It was increased for telecom operators by 150%. And the only explanation is that you make more profits than the others. I wish that somebody comes and says, what's the return on investment rather than how much is the profit itself. The good news, we're still making money and we're still profitable. We did not go to the red line yet. But the fact that we have to understand about the telecom sector is that the telecom sector is not an investment. Yesterday I heard a comment saying, you put your investment 17 years ago, and most probably today you run at a zero assets net book value. I said, who said that? Initially the company invested most probably back in 1995 not more than 10 or 20 or maybe 30 or $50 million, the total investment put in Jordan in infrastructure up to date for Zain itself, for Zain alone, is $1 billion. We are investing a big portion of our profits back into the infrastructure. So the opportunity, I believe, in the market, and of course, the optimistic part of the industry is that the mobile network today in Jordan is the biggest. We reach every home. The smartphone penetration is increasing heavily in Jordan. Jordan is in a leading position among the Arab countries in exporting content and applications, as well as IT solutions. People are moving towards mobility rather than laptops or computers, which means that we are becoming a network that reach the whole society. People talks about a convergence between media and mobile operators. We're already there. We are a strong arm for the media through content, through SMS, through MMS, or through applications. So what we need to focus and concentrate on the coming period, I believe, in Jordan, and this is why we are here in the Dead Sea, this is why what we are looking for in the MENA ICT, we have all the stakeholders, the operators, the investors, the IT companies, the government, the regulator. What we are looking for is a vision, as our friend from Lebanon said. If you don't have a vision, that means you don't have a plan. If you don't have a plan, that means you're planning, you're taking a high risk, either to make a success or a failure. Jordan has been always and the success, it's a success story, and what we need to make sure that we continue on the success story in terms of ICT, IT and telecommunication at the same time. We need to focus where the potential and the opportunity is. Potential and opportunity is in convergence. Potential and opportunity is in strategic alliances and partnerships with other sectors. And the actual potential is, and I was enjoying the session, the one before, about the games. Yes, as CEOs, I play Subway Surf, not Angry Birds. So, and I defrustrate there. That's how I managed to lose, at least to stop thinking and focus on one single direction, just to restart, as they say. What we need to do, yes, we need more the content and applications part in the Arab world. Although we talk so proudly as Jordan that we are leading, is immature yet. We do need an Arabic content. We do need to take the culture into consideration. We do need to understand what the people want. We need to create the solution based on the market need. We don't need to copy, but we need to customize. We need to localize the content. We need the Arabic language. We need to utilize this network that is built already, that is reaching every single person in this country. In certain places, people will not have a TV, will not have a radio, will not have any electronics at home, but they will have a mobile. I'll stop here to leave some part to Ihab to talk, and we'll discuss further.
Mr. Hannawi, please.
Good evening, everyone. I don't want to repeat anything. Definitely, I cannot disagree with what the gentlemen have said, but I just want to give a reality check on where is the telcos are as we speak. The golden ages of the telcos has gone. We were, not only us, in the whole world for the past 20 or 15 years, the telcos, they were busy of making money, double-digit growth year on year, coming from very clear revenue streams, which is voice and then SMS, till maybe 5 years back. And they were arrogant, the telcos, that they were not even open any discussion with any potential new revenue streams when it comes to innovation, when it comes to content, when it comes to application. They want to do it all. They want to take the revenue share 90%, if not more. That golden age has gone. And I believe what we have seen for the past less than 18 hours is a clear message that we are going in a real transformation that have started. What we have seen on the data explosion for the past couple of years or 3-4 years, this is security on the top, don't worry. So the data,
They're agreeing with you.
shall we run away or what?
Could the banging please stop?
We paid
حدا
for
يروح
them. Yeah.
عندهم يقول لهم ما يطبلوش.
ما فيش عربية عم
إلا هذا الحرس الملكي تحكوش معهم وارجعوا.
So the data explosion that we have seen for the past 5 years, comparing to the explosion of revenues coming from data, is something very scary. Telecom operators, they are going through a really tough days as we speak. And if they don't change their way of thinking, and they don't change the DNA that they have, those operators will hit the wall. The consumption that we are seeing, that we have seen maybe in some of the presentation yesterday on the data usage, just to give you numbers, the data consumption will increase 25 to 30 folds in the coming 5 years, while the revenue will increase only 2 times. And this what does need from the operators? Very high capex and capital expenditure when it comes to the network, very massive spectrum, which is something nobody touched on this conference, that the spectrum is very scarce resources and we have a limited capacity of the spectrum. The vendors, they are starting to start back to take the lead on making the money now. They were not vendors, I'm talking about the main telecom vendors when it comes to the networks. So where we are heading to is something really needs things to be balanced. And this is back to the point that mentioned from one of my colleagues, that if there is no balance in the whole equation and the whole ecosystem, including the government, including the regulation, including the vendors, including the content providers, the application, then nobody will fly. If we have a weak pipes, which we are providing the pipes, and will come maybe in the next question, the role that the operators can play with that pipe. Plumbing is not a bad industry. We can work in plumbers as giving the pipe that can be filled. But the pipe cannot generate enough revenue because consumers, and we'll come to some numbers, consumers, they need more and more data. The more you give them data, the more they need more. In Europe, they started all you can eat, and they stopped it after a couple of months back because they need bigger pipe, and bigger pipes. And we cannot provide that. If you said that we're still in making profits, trust me, the time to see the red, God forbid, if things remain the same with the whole ecosystem unbalanced, we will hit the wall. And this is where I just want to look at back 20 years till now. We had three curves of revenues. The first one was the revenue of the voice, which we were extremely busy in it. And then it started to decline in some advanced countries, and maybe in our region started to plateau to a certain extent, but we will see the decline coming soon. SMS, still we have some good growth, but I would say in the coming less than 18 months to 24 months, we will see the decline. In some countries, Philippines of this world, that they were massive usage of the SMS, they started to see the decline as we speak. The third curve of revenue is the access, is the pipe, is the internet, where in Jordan we are still benefiting that from increasing revenues coming from the data. But the data increase of revenues coming from the data does not offset the drop of revenue from the first two curves, which is the voice and the SMS, while the capex needed to take that part only is 10 times than the capex needed of putting just an SMSC and making money like no tomorrow. So this is where the third curve, maybe we will enjoy, in the GCC, the MENA countries, we will enjoy the revenues coming from the access, which is the data, mainly mobile data, maybe in the coming 2-3 years. But this cycle, it's very short. So the third curve will be shorter than the first two curves in terms of maturity and the decline of it. So what's next? What's the fourth curve? And we were discussing with all our colleagues. There is no fourth curve as one single block of revenues like voice, SMS, or even the access. The fourth curve, it's a combination of dozens, if not hundreds, of small applications and small revenue streams that the operators need to think differently and changing their DNA. And they did the research, by the way, talking about, for example, the OTT. Everybody is saying that OTT is over-the-top operators like Skype, WhatsApp, Viber, and hundreds of them. They did the research in Europe and the whole world on how the operators will deal with those OTTs. And they put them in 4 categories. The first one, which is fight them, don't allow them, get the government to help you to stop the access on it, and we've seen it in a couple of countries. Maybe 5% of the operators, they were there. The second one, we said, okay, the other extreme, partner with them, get them to your network, try to ride that wave, and use it as a stickiness to your subscribers and getting more subscribers from the market. The majority of the operators, they were sitting in the middle where, okay, allow them to use your network or use the VoIP over the network, but with its certain charges. And the fourth one, which is most of them were sitting that, okay, allow them with your available bundle of data. And that was a couple of years back. Now, if you go and they did the research again, and we started to see that the operators have started to change their minds, that they found out that they cannot find them. How to find who? Anybody has connectivity can use them. And this is the way the DNA and the mindset of the operators should change. Without a balanced ecosystem, those operators will die faster. And whatever we have seen in the past 2 days will not fly without the operators and without the telcos having a decent network that can support the massive explosion of data in the coming 5 years that nobody can read. I'm done. So,
No, take your time. I'm happy with that.
okay.
Yeah, yeah.
So I believe that Steve Jobs said, if you don't cannibalize yourself, someone else will do. And the operators that they're going to leave themselves. And by the way, we have signed a strategic partnership with Skype last week. And people said, you're crazy, what are you doing? Why you are going to that direction? And I think the operator's decision today in these non-traditional / risky / whatever hard decisions will determine the future of those operators. And I can give a lot of examples, maybe the next question. Thank you.
Thank you. So this is very interesting. We have the three bosses of the three major telcos in Jordan with actually a common theme. There has been a nice coexistence, but they fear the debalancing of the equation. They fear being treated as cash cows. They are facing challenges in Jordan, higher electricity charges, more data usage that's not accompanied by higher revenues, plateauing revenues, reduction in profitability, and the prospects of a fourth operator. So I would like the regulator of Lebanon to interfere in Jordan's internal affairs and give us his commentary on a fourth operator in Jordan given this situation.
And I would have loved to have also the regulator on the panel from Jordan as well. But he's busy with, I think he has something personal.
You know, it's interesting to listen to the operators. And there is a shift in the revenue, as was mentioned, and it's not going to be in the pipes. It's not going to be in voice. It's not going to be in anything except data. And, you know, there is a major issue today that's being discussed across the world between the usual telco operators and OTT. Join them, fight them, or create your own. All of this that's going on, especially with the explosion of the data, it's going to require more and more and more infrastructure. It's going to require more fiber, more equipment, and that's going to cost somebody. I believe that in general around the world, you're going to see consolidation. You're not going to see major increases in number of operators. Now, who said 2 or 3 or 4 or 5 is the right number? I think today, depending on the market that you're in, you're going to look at how is the situation, where are the revenues. I heard revenues have stopped somewhere at a certain level. The sources of revenues are shifting. Now, who's going to make the investment? If the operators are not going to be able to make money, well, you know, you're going to create new revenue sources. Now, okay, connectivity, machine to machine, etc., it's going to come in. But I tell you, it's not going to come in that quickly in Jordan or in Lebanon or many other places. Slowly it will come in. So I'm not sure that the fourth operator is a good idea. And I cannot say it should not be done. But I think we need to look at the pipe requirement for the new data explosion, that data tsunami that's coming in. And if you introduce a fourth operator, who's going to be, is this a model that's going to work? That's so, and the same thing should apply to any market. Really, it's market specific, but I see things moving toward consolidation in many areas, many markets, and I will not put my foot in my mouth concerning the Jordanian market.
A question to the three telcos together, with facing. Go ahead.
One thing I really missed to say earlier, but I think it bears a lot on what's going on. The issue of the trust of the consumer in the environment, and whether it's the government, is it going to peek or poke into their own information, security of the information, and the so-called cloud computing. How is it going to be worked within the environment are issues that also are minimizing or limiting the usage of our networks as we move forward.
Thank you. Now, a follow-up question to the telcos together. And basically, since you're facing the same challenges, explosion in data connectivity and data consumption by your users, 10 years ago, a cellular user only used the network to call from outside the home or the office, inside the building or another network. Now, even when they're home, they're actually sometimes using the 3G network and using the data packages. So given that you're facing the same third curve issues, are you discussing or thinking or open to the idea of some sort of infrastructure sharing, towers, backhaul, electricity, air conditioning, so as to make the CAPEX expenditures more palatable for you as operators? We'll start with the reverse alphabet. So Zain goes first, Omnia second, and Orange third, reverse alphabetically.
Actually, thank you, Jawad. Yes, it's something that has been discussed among the operators, and it's something that is coming sooner or later. We started at a small scale. A few site sharing did take place between the operators. It did not go on a bigger scale, but I believe it's just a matter of time because we have a big pressure on the profitability of the companies, and the investment in the infrastructure in Jordan is still required. I don't think we reached the destination yet. The other thing is an interesting idea, or interesting statistics. Most of the data usage in Jordan are actually fixed data usage. It's not a mobile data usage. We have to differentiate between home data usage and mobile data usage. The thing is, most of the people, although the smartphone usage in Jordan is increasing, at the smartphone penetration, Jordanians spent over the spent $1.5 million to buy applications online. Of course, we are not considering the copyright issues. Most probably they have downloaded more without paying, or the free applications, but when it comes to payment, they paid 1.5 million. This is a very small market, and it can grow. Taking into consideration the smart electronics that are coming in, smart TVs, cameras based on SIM cards, getting ready for that in the future, we'll need a different solution than the wireless internet. Wireless internet is supposed to stay for the mobile phones, and we have to come up with a better home solutions for the future, getting ready for the future, and that requires a big amount of investment. We're talking about hundreds of millions of dollars that need to be put into the infrastructure of telecommunication in Jordan. Now, if we talk about why would we bring a fourth operator into the country, there has to be a reason, and the reasons in the telecommunication in each and every country, when they bring in a new operator, the penetration rate is low, the prices are high, the the quality of the service is too bad, so they have to create some competition. But to bring in a fourth operator to highly saturated market, highly competitive market, and the lowest in price, and still they expect the infrastructure of the telecom to expand and to provide a better quality and to bring in the latest technology, and still spend 40 or 50% of our profits back into the improvement of the service. I don't know. I think Thomas was right. We'll destabilize the relation between the three stakeholders, main stakeholders of the telecom industry, and that's the operator, the government, as well as the consumer. Most of what the telecom in the future is not supposed to offer a service to increase revenue only. It's a service that increases revenue and saves cost and efforts for the consumers as well. Thank you.
Again, no, Commissioner. The challenges are the same, and I agree with you, but our challenges are in many fronts. The first one is, maybe we'll come to that again, the regulation, the litigation, the support, the way that the government / the regulation looks at the telecom sector as a cash cow. This is a challenge by itself. And in Jordan, maybe I don't want to focus much in Jordan, but we have a special case. We understand the problems on the budget that we have. We understand the deficit that we are facing.
Just to let you know, Lebanon is worse.
Yeah, okay, fine. We'll come to that. So my point is, the Jordan case is a bit different because telecom sector is one of a very few successful sectors. So we cannot penalize the successful sector for the fact that they are making money. Let's get more money to fix something else. So fixing short term will affect a very long term thing, and and by the way, the three telcos, it's a foreign investors, be it from Bahrain, Kuwait, or France. It's a different. It's not somebody that you can lean easily. So at the end of the day, there is a coin. They put the coin, how much this coin will get you. So this is, as an investor, purely investor. So this challenge, I will not go into that. The other challenge that we are facing, coming to your point when it comes to network sharing, operational excellence, cost-cutting initiatives, being agile is now the name of the game for any operator from the internal part. We cannot run like before, just adding beef to the companies, and mainly maybe an incumbent at a higher percentage. We are incumbent, our group in Bahrain. We face the same thing that Orange are facing here. We are challenging here. Probably Zain, they are challenging in Bahrain. So it depends on the market that you are playing in. But for sure, irrespective, you are incumbent or a challenger, operational excellence, cost-cutting initiatives is the name of the game. One of it is the infrastructure sharing, maybe at the passive level. We are not saying that to share on the core and the IN, the HLR, and what have you. We are talking about the radio part, not even the radio part, on the civil part, where we have one tower. We are putting our antennas, the three of us, one cabinet, 3 racks, one AC, one guard, and that's it. To be honest with you, we had this discussion as Umnia with the two operators 4 years back. And everybody will knock the door, say, come on, we will not give you any site sharing. This is go and sweat enough to build your network. And this is a normal approach from an incumbent to a challenger. But the situation now is different. I'm talking about the three operators. The three networks have been perfectly built. The three networks are ready. And we have the challenge of how we're going to cost cut. And honestly, Ahmed said a couple of sites. I can say that we have more than 100 sites of shared between the three operators. And we started to now, in the process of even dismantling some of the sites, not the new sites. We have 2 sites, take one, I will take one, and then we'll start dismantling and putting the antennas on the steel structure of that and using the cabinet. So again, back to the mindset that we are changing. It's really the circumstances that we are going through as a telcos put us under pressure to work together to do the side sharing. In some countries, regulators have interfered, and they put some rules. In Bahrain, we've seen it. In other countries, we've seen it, that you have to do side sharing. That was one of the obligations on the telecom sectors in that country. So, operational, as I said, the cost-cutting, operational side sharing, looking for new energy options instead of the electricity, solar power, hybrid system, wind, hydrogen, what have you, and we started in that. The third point is the consolidation that my colleague have mentioned. We will see consolidation coming in the coming 5 years. The map of the telecom operators will not remain the same. The role that the telcos will play in the total ecosystem will shift, and actually started to shift. And whoever operator wants to stick to that part of the traditional input in the total ecosystem will suffer in the coming 5 years. So there will be a shift, a total shift in the telecom role as part, and we will come when it comes to the how to deal with the entrepreneurs, how we deal with the incubation, with the acceleration, and I will share with you something now as we have announced in this conference. The fourth issue when it comes to challenges is finding new revenue streams. How are we going to find a new revenue stream? One of the conferences, I think in Barcelona, a person said that one day anything has a battery or get electricity will have, or moves, will have a SIM card in it. Anything. Yesterday we've seen that anything, our equipments, our cars, anything we're going to use in the coming 5 years. Maybe in Jordan, maybe we are a bit late when it comes to the machine, but look at the whole world. Everything is going with a SIM card connected to the network and controlling, monitoring, as our colleague from IBM yesterday, she had a very nice presentation. She has really put the scene in I like what she has said. So this is where the operators need to look in new revenue streams. How you look at new revenue streams, you need to embrace for those entrepreneurs and really working with them. We have announced today in this conference our partnership with Plug and Play, and my friend is sitting in the front from Plug and Play Silicon Valley, just to link one of trying to create new revenue streams and cover the job creation, which is one of our major problems in the country, and having the best pool of talent in that part in the country. We have built a bridge between Jordan and Silicon Valley, where we're going to send people from Jordan through the model of Plug and Play / Omnia initiative to send the top-notch entrepreneurs that passes a certain set of criteria and filtration process to go to Silicon Valley, sitting 3 to 4 months there, having an intensive training and trying to globalize their approach. And we have a couple of stories. I don't know, can we announce the thing? One of the Jordanian ladies from Zu'bi, I know, Abel Zu'bi, the e-closet application, she went to Plug and Play. They have helped us in formulating her idea to a global scene, where after that, part of the initiative, they're going to sit in the top 180 VCs and investments, where those people going from Jordan, they're going to pitch in there, and there might be catching like fire, and we have a lot of success stories in the region. So this is the way the operators need to look at new revenue streams, incubation, acceleration, machine-to-machine, energy, diversification, looking at the health, education, energy, banking, advertising. All these things are verticals that the telecom operator needs to change, or need to change their DNA and the way they think, and to forget the history, the arrogance of the 20 years of only making money and seeing a double-digit growth in the revenues only and the traditional revenue.
Thank you, Ihab. Orange now, please.
Yes. Well, first, side sharing, because for me it's a no-brainer. When I first arrived in Jordan, traveling in the beautiful landscape of the north of the country, and you have this beautiful hill, and on top you don't have only 3, but you have 4 towers, making the landscape, destroying the landscape. And why 4? Because we had a Mobilecom and a Jordan Telecom on the same mountain. So in my previous job, when we were not doing at all side sharing with my competitor, we're 2 and we're fighting. And at one point of time, we sit down and said, "Are we in the steel industry, or are we more into providing services?" So we decided to go for side sharing, and which means that we are taking resources from here to provide more clever things, right? And it's in fact it's very very exciting because I tell you, the business of building towers is not a very funny business. It's more fun into chasing new revenue streams, developing new things, going more into clever, into intelligence, and I think that we have a role to play there. First, we are mastering. I mean, that's why I'm at the same time concerned, but very optimistic about the future, because we are playing a key role, a central role. Without our networks and without our know-how, how to operate, how to provide quality, how to cater for various needs of customers, nobody else can do that at the level operators are able to do it. And without us, Google, Facebook, all those companies will never, YouTube, will not exist at all. So we are central role. We have the know-how, we have the people, and what we are doing now is really going after different things, different perspectives. He had mentioned some of them. The fact that in a few years you will not have any object without a SIM or something able to communicate in it, and this is extremely exciting. This morning we were announcing in another field Orange Money, allowing your international transfer of money between here and Egypt through your mobile. But my introduction remark was that most probably in 10 years, there will be no coins and no banknotes anymore. And the money will be in your mobile. And if we can, take 0.something% of all those transactions, then it's really a new business stream for us. And we are all on after that, right? The model is not stable yet. We have to understand with our friends in the banks, the friends in the Visa, the MasterCards, how this ecosystem is going to work. But for sure, we will be a central piece of this ecosystem. So this is another value stream that we can explore and develop, and there are others. But the game will be more complicated, more subtle, but at the same time more exciting, and I'm sure that personally I'm quite optimistic.
I'm going to ask Dr. Imad one question, but in the meantime, please prepare your questions for the panel. We're going to have around 7 or 8 minutes for questions. Make it brief questions, and it will be answered by one of the panelists only. So don't give us a general question for everybody. Dr. Imad, in Lebanon, the situation is drastically different from the situation in Jordan. The government owns all the networks, its management contracts. The political situation in Lebanon keeps putting the telecom sector onto the back burner, and it has been on the back burner for a good 12 years now. What predictions can you give us for the Lebanese telecom market in the next 3 to 5 years?
I may surprise you. I say I'm extremely optimistic. I could easily say that don't expect major changes in the next 8 to 9 months before the new government is in place, because I think the political situation is going to keep pushing the new policy that the minister has put together off the table. But once it's in place, I believe we have the team, the minister's team, and the minister and his team, at least the minister and its team, has put together a good policy, good strategy for the future that takes into account all what's been said today, the need for major investments in the infrastructure, the need for actually what we call a transformation. You know, what we're going through, the internet and everything that's going on, it's no less than a transformation. People could call it a technological change, technological advances, social change. You know, it's a transformation that cuts across social, economic, values, you know, cultural, and believe it or not, and that's where we have the biggest problem, this is a political transformation. We're going to have to go through a political transformation. You would see the reluctance of the governments to move ahead with some types of policies, but unless they engage in it, unless they take it by the horns and say, okay, we're going to be part of this transformation rather than oppose it, similar to the discussion between the telcos and the OTT. It's between today and the environment to be. No government is going to succeed. No country is going to succeed with the barriers being all dropped. So I see things going well. I believe that we're going to get to a situation where the infrastructure is going to be built, the ICT sector is going to be growing, and I really don't care about the number of operators. I really don't. And people are going to think I'm against privatization. No, I'm with opening the market. I'm with privatization. But the fact is, every market has its own conditions. We're going to go to a situation where we're going to build the infrastructure, and there will be operators working across the board with the ICT in mind, but the government also has to build this into the whole economic vision, the whole economic plan, and the growth of the government, of the country, not only ICT. ICT by itself is not going to work, and we're going to go through it.
Perfect, and
Thanks.
we're going to be staying tuned to what happens in our dear Lebanon. So now we've got questions from the audience. Please, as I said, keep them short. لأنه الغدا سمعت مناسف والأزداقيات. Please, the gentleman in front.
For the question, I was happy to see the feedback on Twitter and one of the questions that came on Twitter, I said we have to differentiate between data usage and home data usage. I think one word is missing. We have to differentiate between mobile data usage and home data usage, the fixed data usage. Just to answer a question came on Twitter.
Yes, please. Introduce yourself.
Nizar Al-Mihsen from Orga Systems. The question is, do you have a business transformation strategy where you can engage with different verticals like utilities, transportation, and other industries? Now, the thing is, what is required from operators, connectivity. And the business model is being changed recently. I had the chance to work for Orange for 6 years in Jordan, and then they've started this business transformation strategy, and I think they stopped it. So I think operators in Jordan is not really working toward this strategy, given that they are part of a global, let's say, operators. So what are the opinions?
This is a very good question, by the way, and we need, just for the sake of time, we need to look at the countries ahead of us. See how the major operators like Telefonica of this world, like Vodafone or Deutsche Telekom, AT&T, how they dealt with your question. And actually, I will come to the MENA and the region and in Jordan, but those big operators, what they have done, they have created that vehicle. In an example of Telefonica, they have put a $2 billion of a total budget for that. They have taken $20 million of their advertising/marketing budget, and they put it in that vehicle, a separate team. They think differently. They are people on internet entrepreneurship way of thinking. They don't look at the most important thing. They look at time and delivery, irrespective if it's 100% with no mistakes or not. So we've seen a lot of models going that way. In the region, we have seen some of the operators doing it on the groups. And in Jordan, I can assure you that this is going at maybe at a slower pace than Telefonica, Deutsche Telekom, even Orange in Europe, and Vodafone and what have you. So we're going to see that going. It has to be a separate team. It has to have a separate budget, a different way of thinking, different way of deliverables, and different way of capabilities and knowledge for that specific team.
Thank you. We're very short on time, so we're going to take one final question from the gentleman here. And of course, the panelists are here for lunch and for the plenary session. So any questions can be taken offline. Introduce yourself briefly, please. The question. You can shout it out. Shout.
Consumers of your highway. Are you planning to change the business model anytime soon? So talking about the YouTubes, the upcoming IPTVs, these will be using your resources to generate revenue. How are you planning to deal with this?
I'm going to ask Jean-François to answer, please.
Yeah, you know, this is the $100 billion question, right? I don't think that in Jordan we're going to reinvent anything. Well, we are a small market, and I think Iyab mentioned all the different strategies that we can have. I'm not sure what is the best game. We are not sure. Iyab tried something with Skype. In Orange, we have created our own OTT. We called. I even don't remember exactly the name, but we tried. And I'm not sure that the real business model today exists. But I read last week one of them, you know, they said, we are ready to do revenue sharing with carriers. And when you check, they are not having any revenue, some of them, right? So how, the business model is really disturbed because our business model is to sell things. A lot of, YouTube is not selling you anything. They are giving you things, but they are using our network. I don't think that this model is sustainable on the long term. So there will be a way, I don't know how, nobody is really certain on it. Maybe companies like Boost can help building the whole business model. But the value, we have to get our shares of the value. That's the only thing that, because the existing model, where in fact we are building networks for our kids to watch silly YouTube videos that consuming huge bandwidth, this is not a sustainable model on the long range.
Thank you very much. We only have time to thank the panelists and thank the audience. Lunch awaits us, and I thank you everybody for joining us. وطبعا الغداء مش للزقيات ومن آسف يعني إذا حدا صدق الحكي.
Jawad, thank you so much for this very informative session. Folks, please, some special instructions. We break for lunch now. Lunch will have to be cut to 30 minutes, unfortunately. It is being served downstairs. So we need to meet back here at about 3 o'clock because we're expecting the arrival of His Majesty King Abdullah II at any time in the upcoming session. Therefore, access to this room may be restricted. So you may, if you're late, you may not be allowed into the hall. So please be aware of this. It's going to be our final session for the day, and then we will move into the closing plenary. Bon appétit.